Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Harrison's Garage. I'm Harrison, and today we're going to be continuing the several part series here. I don't know how many it's going to end up being, of sort of improving the overall look and feel of the interior of the truck, adding some leather accents, making it feel a little bit more bespoke. Today we're going to be focusing on the Uconnect, specifically the plastic bevel surround. I've already got the radio out of the truck here and have worked on just this left side. I didn't even know if this was going to be possible, so I wanted to work on the left side, see if we could get there, and it looks like we will be able to do it. So I'm going to be very, very excited today to bring you guys along and hopefully at least entertain you. Some of you, if you want to do this to your truck, maybe this will act as a how-to guide. So I'll get you off the tripod, bring you in close, and kind of catch you up to what I've done so far, and then bring you along with next steps. Okay, first things first, if you've never removed the factory Uconnect from your truck, underneath there's a sort of a rubber mat in here, in the shelf. Underneath it are these two T20 Torx screws. Back those out, and that is essentially the only hardware holding the Uconnect in place. There are a litany of clips in the back here that you'll see, all of which can be, pulled out. When you pull this out, you're going to have one hand sort of right here. The right hand can be right here, and you're going to have to pull very, very firmly. But I assure you it is meant to come out that direction. You're going to pull firmly and towards you like that, and it will pop free. You might have to jerk on it a couple of times, but it will pop free. You work it back. And when you do work it back, you'll see several connections back here. I think there are 6. The connection that's going to be the most limiting will be the one up top, which is the cigarette lighter, the 12-volt lighter here. If you have a pick, it makes removing most of these clips a lot easier. So I get one of these picks and just press in the detents, holding all of the various harnesses in place. So I'll put this down gently here and show you. This is the first one you'll undo, and these two are next. Again, these just have detents on them. This one was on the top, this one was on the bottom. And then I've got 3 harnesses down here, 1, 2, 3, pop those out. And the whole assembly will just lift straight out of the truck, like so. Now, what I want to do and what I want to focus on is right here. In this place, I've already removed, as you can tell, obviously it's missing. Initially, it looks like this. It's this piece of painted plastic trim. I don't really care for it. It doesn't look black. It doesn't look brown. It just kind of doesn't look like anything else in the truck. It doesn't really match the wood, so we're going to class this up a little bit, and we're going to wrap it in this mahogany brown leather from Catskin that I got from my local supplier. Local car shop. If you guys are interested, they worked really well with me. I enjoyed working with them so far. They're up in, I believe, Union City. I will put a link down to their website in the video below. And if you're interested, maybe you can reach out to them and request some just highs straight from Catskin that way. Anyway, you're going to come over here, take a look at what I've already done, and I'll show you next how we're going to get to this step. But this is essentially the piece of plastic that I've already removed. It comes straight from here. It's a little bit difficult to release from this bottom corner. There's a screw that needs to be backed out, not removed, but backed out a little bit to allow this subframe space for this, inlay to be backed out. So once you've gotten it removed, we're going to be sanding it down and then cutting out a piece of leather, which you can see I've already done. And if we take a look at the leather, it shows up pretty well on camera. You'll see the suede here in this sort of area looks a little bit different than on the edges. It's because I've taken this skiving knife, just got it on Amazon, and went around all the edges trying to thin out the thickness of this leather to minimize interference and clearances, minimize interference. There's some tighter clearances sort of up here in this area, so I don't want it to be a problem later. And similarly, when I was sanding, I went ahead and rounded off some of these corners and edges, trying to give us a little bit more space for the leather to settle in. So now that you kind of know what we're going to be doing, I'm just going to set you up on the tripod and show you as I go along. Okay guys, so I showed you grinding out, a few of these. There are quite a lot, so I didn't, set you up for the whole thing. It takes probably about 20 minutes. There is a plastic weld to grind here. It's 1, 2, 3. Here, just behind the AC vent here. There's 3, 4, 5 down in here. And then there's a 6th one right here. 7 just up here. 8 here. 9 down here. And 10 over here, if I've counted correctly. In addition to that, there is also I believe it's a T20 torque screw that we will back out last. And you'll see that in a second. But I start sort of up near the top, just trying to push down towards the workbench. And it does take quite a bit. I most likely will have to come back through here with the Dremel. Got a Dremel with sort of a abrasive tip on it to get rid of these guys. As I work this sort of up and down, I'm just checking each weld to see if I have movement or not. And if I don't, then I need to hit it again with the Dremel. So I've got one of my non-marring pry bars here. I'm just gonna slide it in here and see if I can't persuade this along. There we go. And clear there. I believe we should be able to pop this out here. There we go. Popped it out. And now that the screw is up, we should be able to work this free as well. There it is. So now we have this trim piece released. Okay, so that is the Uconnect. Both sides of our trim has been removed. Go ahead and carefully place this out of the way for later. Okay, so the thing that we're going to be doing next is to take your trim, lay it over top of the leather and orient it, kind of figure out how you want to lay this down to ensure that the whole piece gets covered in leather and doesn't end up walking off of it. And then we're going to carefully trace out sort of as best we can that orientation with our fabric pen. This will set us up for our skiving knife, which will be the following step to sort of thin out the corners of the leather. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of work this back and forth, see if this is going to work for us. Make a couple of initial dots and speed through this for you. Okay, I've gotten the leather sort of shaved down, skinned down pretty well. I think, yeah, pretty well. I think that's about good. It is noticeably less thick in the corners here where it is shaved. Next step for us will be to sand the surface here. I'm going to use 160 grit. I'm going to hit all of these corners. I'm going to try and round over the corners a little bit. I'm going to try and maybe make this arc here just a little bit bigger here. Areas that I just know mentally have a little less clearance, especially like right here, I'm going to hit a little harder with the sandpaper, try and give us whatever we can so that we can clear everything when we get back to reassembly. So let's go ahead and get sanding. I'll come back, meet up with you when it's time to really do the gluing. After everything's sanded, I'm going to have to wipe it down with water, and then wipe it down again with a coat of alcohol, let it flash off, and we'll be ready to go. All right, as you can see, I'm applying the glue. I'm using a Gorilla Glue, and I'm applying it very liberally on the leather. One item I learned here was that you should be spraying the leather first, and then waiting maybe a minute or two before spraying the plastic. The plastic does not need as much glue, and it absorbs rather, well, it doesn't absorb in, so it doesn't require as much time to set up. The other point I'd like to make is not to over trim your corners here. Don't go too close to these corners. It's very, very easy to trim too much, and then when you're all done, you'll end up seeing the relief cuts sort of on the face of the piece, which will basically ruin it, and you'll have to start all over, as I did here in a second. And this is my third attempt at doing this stuff. It is, it was a lot less stressful the third go around. I kind of knew what to expect. So now that I'm not all, running around trying to get it all done before the glue dries, I figured I'd walk you through some of the things that I learned the hard way. So first things first, when you do this, you're going to spray your leather and you're going to spray your part. And you're going to spray your leather with like 3 or 4 coats until it is saturated. And you're going to wait like 3 minutes or so until that starts to tack up. Then you're going to spray maybe 1.5, kind of 1, maybe 2 light coats on the plastic trim piece, because it's not porous. It'll just land right on the trim and stay there, and that'll tack up much faster. So wait like 2 minutes until this starts to tack up with the back of your knuckle. Move over your trim piece, spray that, wait 1 more minute, lay the trim down on your leather, and don't be afraid to, be careful when you do it. Lift it, lay down. I laid it down kind of like this first, held it there for a second, worked it through, lifted it back, and then once I got to this point, I was able to lift it up, and keeping it flat, gravity would allow the leather to droop. I'd slowly work it down the rest of this, and work it onto the part, onto the contours of the part, and just kind of roll it around the edges. You don't really have to be in a hurry. The glue will, dry and tack up. You just spray more on. It's fine. Once I got it, around a little bit of the contours, especially on this end, I went and cut off a lot of the excess. What's really important for this part, as you saw earlier, orientation-wise, you want to make sure you're not going to send your relief cuts all the way to the very edge of the leather. You want to have them stopping right here, and that way they won't show on this finished edge here, which is what we're going to see here in a second when we put it back in the Uconnect. It'll be much better, more improved. The other thing you want to do is maybe only, if you're going to sort of shave down the thickness of the leather, only do it in a small channel around the edges. You don't need to shave down the middle area. Unless you do it really, really well, you're going to see you might have a divot or something in the middle where you might have shaved too much. So things you learn the hard way, and I am really, really impressed with how this turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back into the radio, and then I'll show you the finished product on the bench, and then take you back into the truck after I get it mounted back into the dash. Okay, I am getting this new piece, or I guess this right piece, redone and reattached. Having these corners, mostly because I thinned the leather less for a more homogeneous look. It's a little bit tougher to fit. I have gotten it in there just fine. Backed this screw all the way out and then tightened it down to compress it. Here, get a nice pressure fit. The sort of reattachment here at these old plastic welds that I ground out earlier today is not gone the way I envisioned. Over here you'll see I tried experimenting with some JB Weld Quickset epoxy, but it just tended to drain in here, which I wouldn't recommend doing for you if you're doing this, because although it will keep it from moving and keep it strong, and yeah, I can go back in and drill and screw these, which I don't really need to do anymore. The epoxy will drain and drip, and you might, depending on how much you use, see some epoxy drip out the front face where your vents are, which is a huge no-no. So I decided to stop while I was ahead on this side. Unfortunately, I don't have any issues with that. But I decided to rethink this, and I was looking at this opening. You can kind of see the opening here, and then just off to the left in the opening there, that piece there is the stud from the piece of plastic trim. I've just been running screws. They're 1/2 inch long. I think they're number 7 or 8 screws, number 7 screws into this. The plastic is soft enough where the screws are simply biting and allowing me to get enough of a purchase here to hold the trim in place. I'm not trying to get, you know, the strongest bond. It doesn't need to be, because once it's reinstalled on the truck, it'll be sandwiched in place. I just want it to be held, you know, firmly enough that it doesn't move or shift, and you know, looks good held in place on the bench. So you saw that drive in there. So I've got a few here throughout, and then this guy down low. So I'm going to finish up with these screws, flip this around and show you what it looks like. Okay, and here she is, guys, fully done and done properly. I don't have those overcuts on this bevel anymore. I don't have it here anymore. It's just much nicer. I'm so glad I took the time to go back and redo that, and I got to explain to you all in a little bit more detail some of the process. Now, I also had an issue with getting this to slot in between the Uconnect bezel and the sort of trim. I guess this trim mounts to the plastic backing beneath the trim, and it goes underneath the Uconnect bezel. I had some issue getting it slotted in there. What you can do is disconnect, or not really disconnect, just ever so slightly loosen this bolt and these 2 middle bolts. They're 8mm. They're not too tight at all. It's, again, plastic. And I was able to, there we go. I was able to ever so lightly loosen those. It gave me quite a bit of room to just slide this piece in there. And that is going to complement the rest of the interior of the truck so much better. I am very pleased. There's a little bit of a learning curve with laying the leather down, but this couldn't have turned out any better now that I've finished the day and I'm kind of looking at it. So I wanted to show you guys what this looks like on the workbench here in the garage with the lights on it, because it's dark out. So right now you won't see it too well in the truck, but should get a decent idea of how things look as it matches the seats now, and it matches the grab handles, and it soon will match the door cars. I'm gonna have a video on doing something similar with the door cards and a custom stitching, which I'm working on hand embroidering right now. So as soon as I'm done sewing those, I'll get going on that video next. Anyway, I'm gonna reinstall this Uconnect so I can drive to work in the morning in the truck, and show you how everything looks once it's all mounted up. Okay guys, as you can see, it's quite dark out, but I wanted to get you a little bit of footage here of how this looks in the truck now. You've got the seats, you've got the grab handles. Come over here, you've got the grab handles. And now we've got the matching leather on this Uconnect radio here, and I am really glad I took the time today to do this right, and I couldn't be happier with how it's come out now. If you have any questions, as always, throw them in the comments below. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed sticking around with me on this holiday Monday for me. Burned the candle both ends, but end of the day, got it done. If you enjoyed the video, found it entertaining, thought it was helpful, plan on doing the same thing to your truck, like the video. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay tuned for more.